It's no secret that Kimi partied hard at times. There are enough videos on YouTube to back that up, and we got into a number of close calls and scrapes during our time together. Amazingly though, a number of people have asked me over the years, is it true that Kimi used to turn up drunk on race days? Well, welcome first of all to another Tales from the Treehouse. The answer to that very simple question probably doesn't even need an answer, but of course he never turned up drunk on race days. Kimi used to really enjoy himself at times, as everybody knows, but when it came to racing, he took it and takes it still very, very seriously. In fact, over a race week, you rarely ever saw Kimi leave his hotel room, and that's still true today. He'll sit in his room, he'll watch TV, he'll get room service. But when it came to Sunday night after the Grand Prix, well, the gloves were off and the hair was most definitely being let down. The dates are a little bit fuzzy, but I can recall one Sunday night after the race in Melbourne, Australia, when I bumped into Kimi and a few of his Finnish mates after a party. One of his mates was a pro ice hockey player and was built like a brick outhouse. A few of our crew and the Finns ended up going back to Kimi's suite at the Crown Towers for a late drink. Naturally, it got out of hand. Now, this particular night in question, post-race, we'd had a fairly decent race. I think we'd finished second, if I remember rightly. So there was something to celebrate. And we got into a situation where I'd been out to a party with my mates from the team. Kimi had been out with a bunch of his Finnish mates that were over supporting him at the Grand Prix. Two completely separate nights out. But after both parties had come to an end, well into the early hours of the morning, we had by sheer chance bumped into each other in the street. What happened after that was we headed back to Kimi's hotel room, and as it says in the book, things got out of hand. Because when we came together, and this is a bunch of mates of Kimi's friends that we knew very, very well. These were a group of people that we'd spent holidays with, time away. We used to go to Finland every year after the season finished with a group of our mates and a group of his mates, and we'd come together for these mega epic week-long parties. So we knew each other very well. So when our worlds collided, it went off. During the evening, various items of furniture got broken, drinks got spilt, and one of the lads even cut his head open on a table edge. At about 6 AM, Kimi called reception and ordered 10 full English breakfasts and some beers. 6 AM. Now I do remember the night getting out of hand. As I say, things getting broken, people getting injured. I remember one of the Finnish guys at some stage picking up a TV and jokingly pretending to throw it out of the window. Although I wasn't sure he was joking. I mean, this was a rock and roll party, but we were 50 odd floors up. When the room service breakfasts all arrived, we thanked our nervous and slightly confused waitress, took the car and closed the hotel room door behind her. All was calm. Now this was 6 AM. We were knackered, we drunk the minibar to death, there was nothing left in the room, so Kimi decided to get onto room service, order a load more beers and a bunch of full English breakfast. You can imagine the poor lady who rocked up with the cart full of all of these immaculately prepared breakfasts, facing 10 individuals who were clearly very drunk. There was blood around the place, the room was a bit of a mess. She didn't know what to do, what to say. She handed them over and walked away. And as I said at that point, things were calm. 10 plates of steaming hot eggs, bacon, sausages, beans and all the trimmings were divided amongst the group, and within 30 seconds the first hash brown had been thrown at someone across the room. For the next half hour or so, the place was turned into a war zone. And I'm not joking, the most almighty food fight you have ever seen broke out with the contents of these 10 full English breakfasts and, by the way, anything else that we could find. Things were being launched across the room, the carpet was destroyed, the curtains were destroyed. Each of the 10 people in that room were destroyed. I had baked beans in my hair, my white shirt was covered in ketchup, making me look like the victim of a really serious injury. The walls and expensive carpets were peppered with food, and the curtains were ripped down as someone tried to wrap themselves up in a makeshift protective cloak. My lasting memory as I left for the airport to fly home was of Kimi cowering in a corner of the room, using his Apple laptop as a pathetic shield whilst eggs and slices of toast rained down upon his head. That memory will never leave me. This was probably 11 a.m. by the time things finally settled down and I had to leave Kimi's room with some of my English colleagues to get back to the airport to fly home. And I will never ever forget the scene that we left behind. I thought no more of it, apart from the occasional chuckle on the flight as memories began to surface through the hangover. But less than an hour after landing in England, my phone rang, and it was our over-officious team coordinator. Now, the team coordinator was the guy that was the go-between, essentially between Ron Dennis and us, the team. If things went wrong, if anybody had a complaint, if anything needed to be dealt with, Ron wouldn't call us, he'd call the team coordinator. Elvis, were you out with Kimi at the Red Bull party last night? He said accusingly. Now technically, I hadn't been out with Kimi at the Red Bull party. I'd been to the Red Bull party, and so had Kimi, but actually we hadn't even seen each other there. So I wasn't out with Kimi at the Red Bull party, so I wasn't lying. No, why? I replied angelically, biting my knuckles as I awaited his response. He sounded sceptical, maybe even a little disappointed, but after confirming again that I hadn't gone to the party with Kimi, he went on to explain that a huge amount of damage had been caused in Kimi's hotel room suite. He wanted to be absolutely sure that none of the mechanics were involved. Well, my heart sank. If you get a call from our team coordinator at McLaren with something like this, you know that it had gone pretty high up the chain. So after reassuring him over and over again that, I'm sorry Mike, I was not there at the party with Kimi, I didn't go out with Kimi, I don't know what you're talking about, I immediately put the phone down and then called Mark Arnold, who's Kimi's trainer and one of my best buddies, and he's the guy that I ever go to if I need the real story of what might be going on with Kimi. Mark confirmed that, yeah, the hotel had been furious the next day, understandably so, but Kimi's manager, Steve, had managed to calm them down with a substantial sum of cash to redecorate the suite, and I imagine some kind of signed memorabilia. Mark assured me that everything had been taken care of and there shouldn't be any comebacks. Apparently, that's just how things rolled with multi-millionaire sports stars, and on that occasion, I was very happy to have been bailed out by the celebrity high rollers. Now, I knew that Ron knew all about this. There were reports surfacing that it was Kimi with a bunch of his English mates that had destroyed this hotel room, and I mean it was destroyed. I understand now that it was $20,000 that Kimi, through his manager, had to bung to the hotel room, to the hotel manager, to smooth things over and essentially redecorate this suite. And when I say suites, a suite in the Crown Towers in Melbourne is enormous. A multitude of interconnected rooms and corridors and lounges and bedrooms. We're not talking about a small box hotel room here. This was not going to be a cheap refurb. But anyway, I was really pleased to have somehow snuck into this world of these celebrity high rollers where, after making what essentially was a huge mistake that night, a little bit of cash and a little bit of celebrity had somehow managed to get us out of trouble. On that occasion, I was really pleased with that. There you go. Something slightly different today, a little bit less about the racing and more about the après racing. We got into a number of scrapes like that with Kimi, always just about on the right side of staying out of trouble. Borderline, there were blurred lines. Lots more stories like that in here. If you're interested, there's a link in the description. But for now, I hope you enjoyed that particular Tales from the Treehouse. As ever, I want to know your suggestions on any further or future stories that you'd like me to cover. Drop me a note in the comments below, and I'll pick up some of those very soon. In the meantime, though, thanks for watching. I'll see you later. Ta-ra.